to the Natural Resources Subcommittee. We'll take a roll. It is working. Okay. Madam Clerk, we do have a quorum. So in the event that a lot of us have committees to make, Delegate Corner, if you'd like to go first, House Bill 1628.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1628 is a wetland and stream replacement fund. This is not a new concept. The General Assembly actually established an in lieu fee program back in 2013 after several economic development projects fell through because of a lack of mitigation credits in different areas of the state. Federal and state laws require development projects to offset their impacts on wetlands and streams, which is accomplished by purchasing mitigation credits from a mitigation bank. Recognizing banks and credits are not always readily available, the Federal Clean Water Act does allow private developers, local and state governments to mitigate their impacts by providing funds into these in lieu and fee programs. Again, this was established by the General Assembly in 2013, but at that time, due to staffing and budgetary constraints at DEQ, it was stalled in the efforts to move it forward. So we're looking just to reestablish it and fund it and move forward so that hopefully all of our business-ready sites that we're also looking to get ready have the opportunity to move forward and not be stalled economic development projects in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Corner. Anyone have any questions? Delegate Marshall.
Yes, Delegate Corner. Is there funds in the budget for this?
I did submit a budget amendment, so there is a budget amendment that goes along with it, so it would need to be sent up to approves.
And the price tag?
We are looking at funding it with, I believe it was $5 million to start with.
Thank you.
Any other questions of committee? Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor of House Bill 1628? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Phil Abraham, representing the Virginia Association for Commercial Real Estate. We have chapters in Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, and the greater Richmond area. We thank Delegate Corner for bringing this bill. It doesn't change any of the rules for these in lieu funds. It just makes a few edits that the Corps was concerned about, that these funds would be spent expeditiously, requiring that you start moving on them in 2 years. I think the budget amendment is more around $500,000 maybe.
Sorry, not a
So, we would appreciate your approving this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Andrew Clark with the Home Builders Association of Virginia. We also support the bill. This has been a reoccurring issue in Northern Virginia and Richmond, really across the state. And regarding the budget amendment, really addresses, I think, that, as Delegate Corner mentioned, in 2013, it requires staff and time to get this program approved by the Corps engineer. So that's what that money goes towards, actually getting DEQ resources to kind of see that effort through the end and not have it kind of drag out for many years. So hope you will support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Ethan Betterton with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. We're also pleased to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shannon Varner here from Troutman Sanders on behalf of the Troutman Pepper, on behalf of the Virginia Environmental Restoration Association. Those are the mitigation bankers, and we support the bill as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Erin Corman with the Realtors, and we also support this bill.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Brian Horn, Director of the Department of Housing and Community Development. Appreciate the time to speak. On behalf of the administration, we strongly support this bill. This operationalizes a fund that is already on the books and will free up the supply of housing and land for housing development. We strongly support it.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition in the room?
I'm actually not asking you to vote against this bill. Okay. I'm Nikki Rodner. I work for the Nature Conservancy. We operated in lieu fee fund, and our concern with the establishment of this program is to make sure that it has to operate by the same rules that we have to operate by. I think that with the changes in the bill and with the budget amendment, maybe that can happen. But I just want to caution the committee that this is not, this is at best a partial solution. It requires the cooperation of the Corps. Other solutions are needed, so this is a problem that we're all going to have to keep working on together. And we are trying to make our own contribution to that. We've requested more credits from DEQ and the Corps so that we have more to sell. We're not the full solution. The banks are also part of the solution. Perhaps this program can be part of the solution, but this is something that you're going to continue to hear about even with this bill and even if you pass the budget amendment. Thank you for indulging me with that comment. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone in the queue?
Have a motion.
Have a motion?
I move that we report and refer House Bill 1628.
Second. A motion and a second to report. Any discussion? Hearing none, vote on your boards.
Ken's coming.
Morning, Delegate Plum. Okay. Bill report 6-0. Thank you, Delegate Corner. Delegate Simons.
Good morning, committee. You may have heard that international companies have been coming here to prospect metals like copper, gold, lead, and zinc. And this is because, in addition to our scenic marshes and mountains, Virginia is endowed with a seam of minerals that runs down from Fairfax to the Dan River. HB 1722 is a bill that directly addresses concerns raised by the scientific and an unbiased study commissioned by the Virginia Department of Energy and performed by the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. Specifically, the bill addresses the use of cyanide in the mining and processing of minerals. We know that a Canadian company has already been exploring for gold in Virginia, and we know that a common method of processing gold is cyanide leaching, a process by which ore is heaped up and soaked with a cyanide solution. As we all know, cyanide is toxic. When it spills, as often happens in the gold mining industry, it contaminates drinking water and kills wildlife. In places with wet climates, such as ours, the risk of this happening is even higher. But cyanide is not the only method of processing gold, and we therefore do not need to allow its use and its risk. HB 1722 would add cyanide to the short list of prohibitions for miners in the Code of Virginia, ensuring that Virginia's water and wildlife are safe from the toxic threat of cyanide.
Thank you, Delegate Simons. Any questions of committee? Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor of House Bill 1722? Please come forward and state your agency.
Good morning. I'm Jessica Sims with Appalachian Voices. Just want to say we're in support of the bill. Thank you to the patron and the co-patrons, including Chair Edmonds and Delegate Corey. This is a common sense bill that's a direct response to the scientific study that the General Assembly required, and we're deeply supportive and appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Patrick Fanning with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. I was a member of the Gold Bill Study Committee. This bill addresses just one of the potential risks associated with gold mining. That was identified in the study, and that's the use of cyanide in processing. I think this is a common sense, narrow approach to making sure that one of the worst issues identified in the study doesn't come to fruition here in Virginia if there were to be gold mining. So we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? I think anyone else? We'll take audience comments first. Anyone else in opposition in the audience? All right, in the queue, we have Stephanie Rinaldi.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you today virtually from my home. My home is actually just a mile from where that foreign company has been exploring for gold. And so I just wanted to come today and kind of give you a face to put to this talk about cyanide in drinking water. If my dog were better behaved, I would bring him in because he's cuter than me, but you're stuck with me. And I just really hope that you can support this bill. And I wanted to thank Delegate Simons and Chairman Edmonds for working together on this. And, it's really heartening to know that in spite of all of our many differences, we can all agree that clean water is better than cyanide water. So I hope that you will all please support this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Miller.
Did he just disappear?
Mr. Miller?
He disappeared.
Well, if he doesn't come back, we'll note that he is in support. Okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
The Piedmont Environmental Council works in 9 counties, including Orange, Culpeper, Fauquier, all of which mining legacy sites that have yet to be cleaned up. Many of them have mercury contamination from the cyanide process. This is a legacy problem as well as one that might develop in the future. So we are very appreciative of Delegate Simon's bill and hope you'll enact the proposed legislation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Chair.
We do have an amendment, I think.
Yes.
Great. Would you like to explain the amendment quickly?
Yes, I am sorry. I forgot to mention that we did request an amendment to this bill to take out sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is being used in some mining currently, so we wanted to take that out and make that amendment.
Let's have a second discussion.
Yeah, again, why is taking sulfuric acid out?
We didn't want to impact current mining operations in Virginia. We're trying to get ahead of what might be coming to Virginia, and there are processors that are using sulfuric acid right now, so we just wanted to take that out to make this a cleaner effort to prevent future mining practices.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the amendment and the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The amendment is before us. Any questions? Committee? Committee operates on motions. A motion to report and second as amended. Any discussion? If not, vote on your boards, please. Bill report 6-0. Thank you, Delegate Simons. Okay, so Delegate Sullivan, House Bill 1588. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to ask Delegate Simons if I can buy her vote total here this morning. That's pretty impressive.
Are you in trouble?
Hope not. You tell me. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring to you HB 1588, which creates the Electric Vehicle Rural Infrastructure Program, which gives it the clever acronym of the EVRY program, which I think is appropriate given its intentions. What it does is addresses rural infrastructure for electric vehicles in Virginia. I want to make clear from the very beginning, this bill is not about the clean car bill. I'm not trying to win anyone's votes on the clean car bill this morning. You can dislike that bill, vote against that bill, but still support this bill, and I think you should, and here's why, Mr. Chairman. Whether the Clean Cars Initiative ever existed or not, we all know electric vehicles are growing in popularity. They are coming to Virginia. More and more Virginians, still not enough in my view, but certainly more and more Virginians are driving electric vehicles. But needless to say, the infrastructure for those programs or for those vehicles remains in its, let's just say, infancy. So they're coming, whether we like it or not, and what this bill does is make sure that no part of Virginia is left behind and that no Virginians are left behind for the opportunity to own and enjoy an electric vehicle. And I talk about parts and Virginians separately because this is going to do two things. It's going to help Virginians who live and work in rural areas make sure that they have charging infrastructure. It's also going to create opportunities for rural Virginia to have charging infrastructure for out-of-staters whom we want to come to Virginia. drive through our beautiful rural parts of Virginia, and we need them to come here comfortable that they'll have access should they be driving an electric vehicle. This is the state's program under what's called the NEVI program, the federal NEVI program. We all know that there are lots of dollars coming to Virginia from the federal government. I think it's $106 million. And Virginia, thankfully, is going to participate in that program. So the charging infrastructure program in Virginia is underway. The problem with the NEVI program at the federal level and with our proposal, and I'm not faulting our proposal because this is the way the program is actually written, is that it is focused on the interstate highway systems. In other words, charging infrastructure every 50 miles along the system and within 1 mile of those roads. Now, if you do the math or just look at a map, you're going to realize that, candidly, most of that's going to be in urban areas. 1 mile either way from the Beltway covers most of inside the Beltway. 1 mile, we're 1 mile from an interstate here, so downtown urban Richmond will be covered, as will downtown urban Roanoke and downtown urban, all of Newport News will benefit from the federal dollars. The program makes very clear, though, that there's a staging. That's the requirement to do it first, and only later, some specified time in the future, will any money, federal monies, if it's available, be available for rural infrastructure. So what this bill does, the reason I brought it is I want to make sure that no part of Virginia is left behind as we make this transition. A couple different things I want to say. I don't think he knows I'm going to do this, but I was flipping around the VPAP News a little while ago, and there was an article about an appearance that the Majority Leader made earlier this month on, I guess it's News Channel 11, and he and I are simpatico, if not on this bill, at least in terms of what it's trying to accomplish, because he said what he wants to see is state leadership direct appropriate amounts of state and federal monies available for infrastructure in his region because, quote, it's very important for rural Virginia because if you get out in some of the rural areas and there's no charging station, then you're stuck. So the point, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, is as we name the bill, we want every part of Virginia to be part of this transition. I have put in a budget amendment. You'll see that the bill has a $25 million price tag. I'd love the opportunity to try to convince the Appropriations Committee to include this in our budget. I think it's important that as we embark on this transition, that this body make sure that all Virginians and all parts of Virginia are included, and that's what this is meant to do.
Thank you, Delegate Sullivan. If we do act favorably on this bill, it will have to go to approves.
I understand.
Anyone on committee have any questions? Delegate Marshall.
Delegate Sullivan, I think we talked about this before, but I know in my part of the state, right at the Carolina line, Route 29, which goes from Atlanta all the way to D.C., we have a visitor center.
Yep.
Which would be a great location for one of these because it gets people into the visitor center when they're out charging the car. Would that be a friendly amendment?
My answer, Mr. Chairman, Delegate Marshall, the answer is yes, if this committee thinks that's necessary. My instinct, and maybe council could weigh in, is that location you're talking about, Delegate Marshall, would already be included. But if we want to make that specific, I have no problem talking about visitor centers. If you recall my remarks, that's we want to have tourists coming and visiting, and you're right, that would be a good place.
Well, I'm not specifically saying about Danville's, but I know up and down when I come up 85 when I get here, and so there's two visitor centers there, and then going up 81 south of Roanoke, there's a visitor center in rural, and so I think it would be an attraction for people as they travel north south to do this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You offering that as an amendment?
Sure. Council, I'm not sure where to put that.
Mr. Chairman, and so according to the population density for the county, it actually would include Caroline County already.
Mr. Chair, while council is looking, and I'm frankly happy to hand this and pass it around. I should have brought copies, but when we developed the bill and created the criteria that you'll see, which has to do with population density and history of what's the word, Council? Population, we're using population density and, I'll read it to you, I'm sorry.
And Council, the reason I thought we ought to clarify visitor centers is so that Everett, who is the group who's going to make this policy real, maybe don't, they probably don't look at our conversations here, so that's why I wanted to put it in.
I consider that a friendly amendment if we can come up with the language. The list of counties qualifying includes dozens of counties, and you all would recognize all of them, of course. But I'm happy to make very explicit that included in what we're looking for would be locations like visitor stations. Well, I might add, I had to interrupt, Mr. Chairman, but Delegate Marshall, you talked about a visitor station on Route 81. My guess is that's already part of the federal program, to tell you the truth. But in a visitor center, more than a mile off of one of the major interstates would not, and I'm happy to include it.
Well, while staff is figuring out where to put that, let's go ahead and hear from the audience. Anyone in support? Oh, I'm sorry, Delegate Plum, you had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Sullivan, in terms of the staging process of where you go beyond the interstates and so on to get into more rural areas, is there any thing in the methodology of doing that that suggests that places that already have charging stations? Because I travel those roads and I use those charging stations, and there are a lot of them in existence. Can that money then, early on in the stage, be moved over to rural areas?
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Plum, I don't know if VDOT's in the room. I think the answer is no. As I read the NEVI plan, which stands for National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, the requirement is that you focus on the interstates and charging stations every 50 miles. Until that is done, the money can't be used in other ways. And I'm not an expert on this, but my sense is that that's going to take a little while. And what I'm trying to do is make sure it's happening all at the same time, and someone's pointing at VDOT.
Yes.
Perfect.
Good timing. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Chris Swanson, VDOT Environmental Division Director. While I don't have a position on the bill, or the governor does not, I'm glad to answer any committee questions you may have. So if you don't mind, do you mind repeating that?
My question was that if our interstates are covered with the ever 50-mile requirement and so on, can we then take that money and use it in the rural areas, or do we forego that money?
There are steps where that could happen, but the delegate was correct that the first round of us building out the NEVI deployment is focusing on our interstates, what they're referred to as alternative fuel corridors. The USDOT will be putting out a next round of calls for expansion of those AFCs where some of those routes that you're suggesting could be covered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, come forward. Anyone in support?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Greg Habib from Gentry Lock here on behalf of CSG. We talked about a version of this bill last year. Let me answer a couple of questions. Delegate Sullivan did a great job of explaining why we need this bill, and so I want to walk through a couple of technicalities about the bill. Interstate visitor centers would be covered by the federal money. This helps us get to other jurisdictions off that highway corridor. Under the NEVI plan, that money, we're not going to have leftover money by the time we deploy all over the state, so there won't be money to shift over to get to that. Remember, last year we had a much broader version of this bill that had rural infrastructure and urban infrastructure. This subcommittee and the full committee reported favorably on that bill. It just got caught up in the finance issue. What Delegate Sullivan, and one of the issues last year was right when we were debating it, the federal government announced we're sending a bunch of infrastructure money to the states. And so a lot of people said, including the chairman of transportation, who is the vice chair of appropriations, said, well, we need to see how that federal money plays out. Well, now we know how the federal money plays out. It favors highway corridors, which is fine. That maybe should be where you prioritize first. But now, as the majority leader, Terry Kilgore said, we need to now get to rural infrastructure. So a couple issues about this bill. It's a much, much narrower version of last year's bill. It only gets to rural infrastructure. It only gets to distressed localities. That's a very important definition because it's tightly drawn to make sure it gets where we need the money to go. It has a maximum fiscal impact of $25 million. The bill says the fund can't have more than $25 million, but the state could decide to start that number anywhere. So we could start at a lower number than that if we wanted to. And what's important is it's not a state giveaway where the state is fully funding infrastructure. It's a matching grant program where the state will only pay 70% of the non-utility costs. So the developer, the private developer, and we represent private developers, we will have our own skin in the game, which means we have to be thoughtful about where we place these projects because we have to get a return on that investment. And there's a utility component as well. So the total cost of the project, the state's only paying a portion of that. So if you believe we need rural infrastructure, if you don't believe we need rural infrastructure, vote against the bill. If you believe we need rural infrastructure, this is the one vehicle you're going to see all year to start that conversation, to create the fund and get it funded, and we hope you'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members, Richard Walker, founder of Bridging the Gap in Virginia. Also, I'm a landowner in rural Buckingham County, Union Hill. And as in most rural areas in the state of Virginia, we're just starting to get fully broadband because we didn't act soon enough. This bill will allow for individuals coming outside of rural Virginia will be able to enjoy the magnificence of rural Virginia by having charging systems. You know, electrification is here, and we need to get on the bandwagon and get ahead of it, or at least to maintain where we're at to stay with it in order for the Commonwealth of Virginia to move forward. Thank you. So I'm in support of the bill.
Thank you. Thank you for coming this morning.
I don't think I can match the testimony of those two, but my name is James Hutzer from the Virginia Association of Counties. We very much support the bill. We appreciate the patron for bringing it forward and for thinking of distressed rural localities. So we hope you all vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Trias Lockwood. I'm supporting Highland Electric Fleets. They are a company that's working in Virginia to help school districts electrify their transportation. So they work to support school districts in getting buses, EV infrastructure, and provide other supporting services, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition? Anyone in the queue, Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. Chair.
Delegate Marshall.
Yeah, question. I don't know if staff has had a good idea here where to put this. And maybe if they could read that to us, please.
Mr. Chair, what we believe might work is after line 41, state including in any rest area as defined in 33.2-1200 within such locality. 33.2-1200 just defines as established and maintained within or adjacent to the right-of-way under public supervision or control for the convenience of the traveling public, which we believe includes the visiting area.
Okay.
That satisfy your
I think
intent? Well, if it's not, we can refine this as we go forward.
It makes sense. It makes sense to me, Mr. Chair. And by the way, it was distressed locality was the term of art I was looking for earlier. So this is cabined by population density and distressed locality results in dozens of counties. That's the place to put it. I'm happy, Delegate Marshall, if it'll keep things moving along, to adopt that amendment. And if in the interim, assuming we keep moving forward, we come up with better language, I think we have time to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we have a motion on the amendment. Right. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the amendment is before us, as is the bill.
We got to vote on the amendment.
Oh, sorry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no.
So I'd like to report and refer the amended bill.
Second.
And the amended Bill is reported 6-0. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Delegate Corey. Good morning. Before we get to you, Delegate Corey, I did mean to let the committee know that Delegate Wilt's Bill 2126, he's requested for it to go by for the day. So without objection, that bill is by for the day. Delegate Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the committee. Excuse me. I am bringing HB 1989, which is a ban on wildlife killing contests. Before I tell you what the bill is banning, I need to be sure you understand what this bill is not about, since a number of people have come to me and asked me, why am I protecting coyotes? I'm not protecting coyotes. This is a bill that bans wildlife killing contests. Unfortunately, Virginia has a lot of them, and they are scattered around the state. The killing contests are gatherings sponsored by sometimes companies, sometimes local neighborhood-based organizations that encourage people to attend to compete for cash prizes and or T-shirts, belt buckles, things like that. And the animals that are hunted, well, they're not hunted, that's wrong. The animals that are killed are bobcats, coyotes, foxes, prairie dogs, rabbits, squirrels, and wolves, as well as any other fur-bearing animal that is not protected from this indiscriminate slaughter. It's really not sound wildlife management. What these contests do, besides killing hundreds of animals of all sizes and weights, there are different categories, by the way. The smallest animal, you get a prize. The biggest one, you get a prize. And the longest one, you get a prize. And there are piles and piles of dead animals being weighed and measured. I am told by the Wildlife Conservation Police that this is really, as I just now said, not sound wildlife management. It disrupts the ecological system, and it sometimes causes animals to quickly overpopulate because of the uneven distribution of ages in those that are killed. These contests encourage artificial calling, technology, night vision, and whistles that imitate injured offspring of wildlife as well as prey. About 10 states have barred these contests, and a number of them are talking about doing so now. I will close with, I rarely speak in defense of hunters. Not that I don't like hunters. I like a number of hunters, a number of the people that are on this committee. But right now, I want to be sure you all understand this is not about hunting at all. This is not hunting. This is indiscriminate slaughter. And it actually, I think, creates a very bad reputation for Virginia hunters. I think it's a simple bill, and I hope that you will see favorably about it. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? Delegate Fowler.
I may need to get my friends from DWR up here, but you know we're including old fur-bearing animals. So, of course, I think probably there are a lot of fur-bearing animals that are also classified as game species. Correct, and I think it's already probably illegal to have a contest for those animals. But if I could get a clarification on that or something, it would be helpful.
I have a question about that too. Maybe the director could come up and. So in that vein, while the director's coming up, I am fully in support, honestly, of since coyotes are on the nuisance list and they're not regulated. There's no season; they're year round. The more that you can get rid of, the better. So I'm for that. But I do have an issue with, animals that are regulated by the department, like bobcats and fox, for example. But anyway, maybe the department.
Mr. Chairman, I neglected to mention one thing, and that is that I'm also told by the Wildlife Department that this encourages poaching. So, please.
Director Brown?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Ryan Brown with the Department of Wildlife Resources. And I will say, at the outset, we do have some opposition to the bill as it's presented here, but I'll get directly to the questions that are in front of us. Today, these contests are legal for fur-bearing species and nuisance species, so there's no prohibition against them. For bobcat, fox, raccoon are good examples of fur-bearing species as defined under the Code of Virginia. And I think you may have had a question, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think we both had the same question, actually.
Yeah, it's a nuisance species. I don't really have a particular problem with it, but obviously we don't want to get mixed up with, our game species and things like that, because, of course, I don't need to, to preach to DWR about how the situation with coyotes is, I think they're everywhere now with the exception of Tangier Island, I think, and that's about it. And they're a big problem. There's no question about that. And so, yeah.
Director Brown, if I were to offer an amendment on line 16 that strikes coyotes and inserts regulated fur-bearing animal, well, keeps fur-bearing animals and inserts regulated, is that the right word for bobcat and fox? What concerns me is that when you introduce contests, you kind of get those who participate sometimes will make unethical shots, long shots that aren't, they're just trying to get another one, and that just is not, to me as a wildlife manager and hunter and conservationist, it kind of goes against the grain of, I don't like the thought of that. But anyway, with coyotes, I'm fully in support of that. But is there any thought you have on that?
Just from the technical perspective, if you the term fur-bearing animal does include the species you're thinking of, fox, bobcat, raccoon, and then I think council may have the definition up in front of them. There's some other species that are involved there as well, but I don't think are typically involved in these particular contests. And for the fur-bearing species, we do regulate the harvest of those by seasons and or bag limits. It varies based on the species. Now I'll say with respect to these contests, which are relatively small in Virginia in terms of number, a handful of them across the state each year, it's primarily a social issue and not a biological issue, and that the numbers of animals that are harvested in the aggregate from a population standpoint doesn't really move the needle on the total population of fur-bearing species or even coyotes that are out there now. On the other hand, associated with that, if you talk to individual landowners who are suffering depredation issues, they can say, well, it may not make a difference statewide or even region-wide with respect to predator concerns, but it sure makes a difference on my individual property to have these folks come out and hunt. And then the answer is that's a matter of perspective and who you are, within that conversation. But to your question, coyotes are nuisance species able to be harvested at any time by any method under Code of Virginia and the department's regulations. The others that you mentioned are classified as fur-bearing species, which we do monitor populations and implement measures to regulate the harvest of those.
I would offer as an amendment, and strike coyotes or
what line?
On line 16, which would still allow for coyote cache hunts. Correct? Is that right? Okay.
I'm happy to accept that amendment.
Well, let's see what the committee thinks.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion. Motion and a second on the amendment. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Is that 2? All in opposition?
No.
Raise your hand. Noes. One no? Okay. So the amendment is before us. Delegate Corey, do you have anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of amended House Bill 1989?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Molly Armis. I'm the Virginia State Director for the Humane Society of the United States. We do strongly support HB 1989, and we do, prefer that coyotes do stay in the bill. I do want to underscore, as Delegate Corey noted, that this doesn't, prohibit the otherwise lawful regulated hunting of the wildlife species. It doesn't prevent farmers or landowners from using lethal control to protect livestock or other animals. It is narrowly tailored to simply prohibit the competitive killing of wildlife. Coyotes, in particular, are targeted here in Virginia. Just last year at the Eastern U.S. Predator Calling Championship in Withville, competitors slaughtered at least 590 coyotes in less than 2 days. At a contest in Duxbury in 2021, over 45 hours, 315 coyote and fox were killed. One two-man team killed 52 of these animals. Again, they really don't, as Director Brown noted, they don't really make a difference. This isn't actually controlling the population anyway. This is just needless slaughter of our wildlife, and we ask that you please, keep coyotes in the bill and support HB 1989. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Holly Hazard with the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies. We are committed to improving the lives of animals. These events are inhumane and similar to dog fighting or cockfighting that have been outlawed in every state. They glorify killing and send a dangerous message to our youth that killing is fun and that life is of little value. Wildlife killing contests should not be tolerated in a civilized society. Our members help our communities coexist humanely with wildlife, teaching people common sense measures to minimize conflicts, such as reducing access to human food sources, such as garbage, and supervising pets while outdoors. These types of measures are far more effective in preventing conflicts rather than randomly killing wildlife for cash and prizes. Given our strong commitment to protecting both animals and people, we ask that you please support HB 1989. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in support? Anyone in opposition?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. Stephanie Talon with Virginia Farm Bureau. Coyote attacks on livestock continue to be a serious issue for our producers all across Virginia. As you can imagine, no farmer wants to see the terrible results of a coyote attack on calves, sheep, goats. As you can imagine, it really is a traumatic experience for the producer. Our members in Southwest Virginia tell us that these contests do provide some relief to those attacks. Again, maybe temporary, maybe on a localized basis, but with coyote populations increasing, we don't think this is a time to restrict any options for producers who are experiencing these attacks. We do oppose the bill. However, if it were to move forward, we would like to see coyotes removed from it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Heidi Krosky, and I represent the Virginia Animal Owners Alliance. We believe that Delegate Corey brought this bill out of her love for animals, but we would ask you to please consider the pets and the livestock in Virginia and hold them at a higher priority. Many farmers and pet owners will tell you about their concerns and problems with the coyotes. If coyote is struck from the language, we would have less concern. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm John Colclaser with the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation. We do oppose this bill. We believe it would decrease participation in hunting and negatively impact license sales, therefore negatively impacting conservation funding for the DWR. I think it's about only 7 states in the country have a similar prohibition on the books, 2 in the Northeast and about 5 out west. And just for the record, coyotes are not native to Virginia. They're non-native invasive species. I would ask you to oppose the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. We have, is there anyone else in opposition in the room? We have Ms. Pragoski. Good morning.
Yes. Hello. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Alicia Pragoski. I'm with the Animal Legal Defense Fund. I am also a resident of Northern Virginia. The Animal Legal Defense Fund is a national nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing the interests and protecting the lives of animals through the legal system. On behalf of our thousands of members and supporters in Virginia, I ask that you support HB 1989. Killing contests are inhumane, irresponsible events that cause extensive animal suffering and undermine science-based wildlife management. Scientific evidence is not on the side of wildlife killing contests. These events are not only cruel, but they're ineffective at controlling carnivore populations. In fact, the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources has emphasized this, stating that there is no scientific evidence to support claims that predator hunting contests reduce predator numbers, reduce livestock damage, or increase populations of game species. And evidence actually strongly suggests that wildlife killing contests are counterproductive to effective wildlife management and control. While hundreds of animals might be killed in a single contest, the remaining population reproduces more quickly and at a higher rate due to the fact that there is less competition for resources. And this is particularly true for coyote populations, one of the main target species for killing contests in Virginia. I just wanted to mention that because we do prefer that coyotes remain covered by the bill. In addition, coyote killing contests play no part in minimizing wildlife conflicts with humans, and that's because the vast majority of killing contests occur in forests or woodlands or those places where you're not seeing those conflicts occur. So to conclude, wildlife killing contests have no place in Virginia. So again, I respectfully ask that you please support HB 1989. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Delegate Wright, no question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaking in opposition to the bill, the hunting numbers or the hunters are steadily decreasing. We have problems with disease in some of the deer herds that could possibly even affect the number of hunters more. Although the patron, with all due respect, did say that this was not anything against hunters, but it does have the appearance of being against hunting in general. Although these coyotes are just a nuisance animal, the farmers are having a hard time with them. Small pet owners, they'll catch rabbits, most any small game they can get. But also, there's been testimony this morning that this is a very small amount of people, and it's seen as more of a social gathering than anything else. And I just think it's another way to cast people that like to hunt in a bad light, and I don't see a thing wrong with doing it. At the same time, it's supported by Farm Bureau and others, and I would not support the bill.
Thank you, Delegate Wright. Anyone else? Okay. Committee works on motions.
Move the amended. I'd like to report I'd like to move the amended bill, please.
Have a motion to report the bill as amended.
Substitute motion, Mr. Chairman.
Have a substitute motion prevails. Delegate Wright.
I move to lay the bill on the table.
Have a motion to lay the amended bill on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor of laying the bill on the table, vote aye. Motion to lay the bill on the table fails 3-3, which returns us to the underlying motion to report as amended. And the motion to report fails on the vote of 3-3. Thank you, Delegate Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, next we have to probably wrap up this meeting around at the absolute latest, probably 5 minutes to 9, because full meets at 9. So hopefully we'll get through. Actually, my bill's next. So, okay, how about that? Mr. Chairman, would you mind to?
You'd like to? So you have two bills. Which one would you like to take?
Let's go ahead and do the one with Bill 2282.
House Bill 2282. All right, Delegate Edmonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, House Bill 2282 is a Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources bill that promotes economic development and provides certainty and consistency for timber harvesters and landowners. This bill adds an exemption to the Stormwater Management Act and Erosion and Sediment Control Law for cutting trees and the minimum land disturbance necessary to get the trees to market, which would be logging roads and logging decks. Current law exempts timber harvesting from the Stormwater Management Act and the Erosion and Sediment Control Law if the area on which the harvesting occurs is either 1, reforested artificially or naturally, or 2, converted to agricultural use. The substitute, now we do need to adopt the substitute, does not change the existing law, but it adds an exemption for cutting trees and the minimum land disturbance necessary to take the trees to market, no matter what the landowner plans to do with the property in the future. And, Mr. Chairman, I would say that this DEQ has worked with the other stakeholders long and hard on this bill, and I know they will be wanting to speak to it as well.
So first of all, let's get the substitute before us. You have the substitute is just being passed out. What's your pleasure?
I'll move the substitute.
We have a motion and a second to accept the substitute. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So this is about reforesting artificial trees? So is this like artificial Christmas trees?
It's about cutting down artificial Christmas trees. That's correct.
Okay.
No. I would like, at this time, if it's okay, to have Director from DEQ come up and.
Sure. Okay.
Director Rolban.
Yes. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. Mike Rolban, Director of DEQ. This bill is a Secretary of Natural Resources bill, and it is strongly supported by the administration. We're doing it for several reasons. The first is we need to encourage economic development, and the current law is interesting. It's not followed uniformly, mostly by complaints, but it's not legal to harvest trees if the intent is not to reforest it. So what happens is if a project comes into, say, DEQ or local government, and they're proposing a new use, they can't cut the trees down from that time period they propose a new use to the time period they get the actual plans approved. And in that period, it takes a long time. And unfortunately, we're trying to speed that up, but it could be several months to a year many times. So the number one issue is simply a time savings. The number two issue is that there are various species of concern, depending on where you're on the state, that are protected by federal law as well as sometimes state law. And there's windows of opportunity when you're allowed to harvest those trees. So it's potential that projects could be delayed as much as a year just waiting for that right time when you're allowed to cut those trees down. And if you just cut them down, which you can, and leave them on the ground, they're not very valuable for most timber uses.
So I heard in another committee that, statewide, we have harvested about 100,000 acres of timber to put in solar.
Okay.
All right, so does that affect this, that if you harvest for solar, then you have to go somewhere else to replant the trees, or?
No, I mean, if the 100,000 number seems high for harvesting trees for solar, because I think there's only about 100,000 acres of solar, but it doesn't require you to reforest. It simply allows you to cut the trees just like you would if you were harvesting trees for silvicultural activity.
Okay. All right. Any questions of committee? All right. Anyone in the audience want to speak in favor of the substitute for House Bill 2282? Welcome, sir.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Corey Connors of the Virginia Forestry Association. We just want to thank the delegate. We want to thank the department for addressing our concerns with respect to reforestation, recognizing the role that plays in erosion control and stormwater management. So thank you for that. We have no position on the bill because it is a bill where, with regards to development. Once the land is developed, it's kind of out of our purview and bailiwick. But we do want to thank folks for keeping that exemption the way that it is.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else in favor? Anyone in opposition? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and thank you to the delegate for speaking with us about our concerns with the bill. We're not exactly sure what issue this bill is trying to address. You heard the director say that the issue was noncompliance with another exemption. And in our mind, if the issue is noncompliance with an existing exemption, the solution should be to bring those folks into compliance with that exemption, not create a new one for them. We also heard the issue with species concerns and time of year restrictions related to that. Our federal partners with the Fish and Wildlife Service have systems in place where you can survey for the species that, and if they're not present, you're able to cut your trees to bring your project to fruition. This would just create another exemption from stormwater management requirements at a time when we're already behind on our Chesapeake Bay stormwater goals. And so for those reasons, we oppose the bill at this time. And just one final concern, the language as proposed would leave it up to each property owner to determine what the minimum necessary land disturbance would be for themselves. There's no one who's going to be out there with them to help them make that determination. So we think that could lead to some issues. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition would like to come forward? All right, seeing none. Any questions of committee? All right. Do you have a question?
Mr. Chairman, at the proper time, I have a motion.
Okay. All right. You want to wrap up?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as a timberland owner, if this wasn't, if the Forestry Association and Farm Bureau weren't on board with this, I'll just tell you that I would not be carrying the bill. So I'm not saying they're for it, but I think that at least they're neutral, and I think it's a timing issue, and I'm hoping that the committee will see favorably on it.
Okay. All right. So any other questions? Seeing none. All right, Delegate Wright, you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to report.
Report the substitute for House Bill 2282. Yes. Do I have a second?
Yeah. Second.
All right. All those wishing to vote, please do so.
If you could, yes.
You a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have the bill passes 4-2.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, Mr. Chairman, House Bill 2470. If you'll see on line 70, beginning at line 70, what this bill does is, if in our wisdom, and I know many times that we've come, many members have come forward with bills to exempt certain groups from purchasing hunting licenses, and in the past, if it's had a fiscal impact on DWR, we have not wanted to harm them, and so they have not always been looked upon favorably because we know that's where they get their money. So what this bill will do, and this was actually brought to me by the Congressional Sportsman Foundation, because a lot of other states have done this, and it says that moving forward, if anything that we pass after July 1, 2023, if we exempt a certain group of stakeholders from purchasing a hunting license or fishing license or trapping or whatever, that the department or that the General Assembly would make that money up to them. So it's just, if it happens, this fund will be in place.
Okay.
Well, and it would have to go to appropriations too, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Do we have questions of committee of the patron? Seeing none. Anyone in the audience want to speak in favor?
Good morning. John Colclaser with the Congressional Sports Foundation. I want to thank Delegate Evans for bringing the bill. Yeah, this is a common issue we see across the country, license exemptions. I know y'all see it here in Virginia all the time. The agency is largely funded or funded in large part by hunters and anglers buying licenses, and it's always hard for the agency and others to tell special interest groups they don't need a discount. So it puts them in a tough spot, but every time they exemption or discount is granted, it impacts everybody in the Commonwealth, hunters, anglers, and non-sportsmen and women, because the DWR is responsible for managing game and non-game wildlife, as well as a lot of public land in the state. So this would be a really forward-leaning, proactive bill, and we'd ask for your support on it. And thank you, Delegate Edmonds.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, there was supposed to be an amendment, and on line 70 after reimbursed, it should say insert from the general fund.
Okay. All right, so.
Move the amendment. Yep.
All right.
Second.
Council, y'all see that? Could you, please?
Yeah, so it would now read, the department shall be reimbursed from the general fund for lost revenue.
Okay. Yep. Did y'all get that? Yep. All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I think we have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and no need to pile on here, but just want to say, Ryan Brown, Department of Wildlife Resources, we do support the bill and appreciate the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation bringing the issue forward and the delegate being willing to carry the bill. As you know, this is a topic we often find ourselves in front of the committee on, and have appreciated the committee's work on it historically.
All right, so we have an amendment before us. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion at the appropriate time.
Yeah. Do you have a question? Sorry. Yes, go ahead. No.
A clarifying question. I know we've talked in the past, there was a study to determine whether or not there should be dedicated state resources for the department. Can maybe the director, can you clarify where we are on that process, and if this bill passes, which I do intend to support it, if this will be the first time we're opening the door for those dedicated state funds?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think the study that you're referring to pertained to DCR and the state park system, who often finds themselves here on similar issues. Now, they're a general fund agency, so the background circumstances are a little bit different. With this particular issue, we're non-general fund, at least in thrust. Most of our funding comes from sources that we either raise or connected to the department's activities. And so the license revenues obviously have an impact on our bottom line, as do accompanying federal match dollars that come from licenses that we sell.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, any further questions, committee?
Motion.
Right, so you have a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think this is a great opportunity for the General Assembly to put their money where their mouth is. And so for that reason, I move we report the bill.
Second.
And refer.
And as amended.
Report and refer as amended.
Report and refer as amended.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion to report and refer as amended, House Bill 2470. All those wishing to vote, please do so. Gotcha. All right, clerk will close the roll. It reports 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Okay. Next, and I think our final bill, is that correct, is Delegate Tran's bill. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Before you is HB 2453. So this bill is pretty simple. It creates a pilot with the DCR to establish a program that would allow for the use of all-terrain wheelchairs at our state parks. I've been having a lot of conversations with the Mason Neck State Park Friends Association. Mason Neck is in the district that I currently represent, about increasing accessibility at our state parks. And I learned about the all-terrain wheelchair and how states like Georgia, South Dakota, Colorado, and Minnesota and Michigan have deployed a pilot program where to allow every single one of their residents to have access to their state parks, including residents who use wheelchairs. And these all-terrain wheelchairs are similar to the ones that are used for hunting, fishing, and even farming. And they are gas or battery powered and gives people the opportunity to experience outdoor activities on rough terrain. They can go over rocky terrain, they can go through sand, kind of you name it. they are able to traverse those landscapes. Right now, 16 of Virginia's 41 state parks have accessible trails, but that means that some trails in some of our state parks remain inaccessible to folks who use wheelchairs. And even those trails that are accessible may be difficult to use depending on the wheelchair you have. So this pilot would be a 2-year pilot starting in October 1 of this year through September 30th of 2025. And I do have a budget request to go along with this bill if it pleases the committee to move it forward.
Thank you, Delegate Tran. I'd have a question. We had talked about that. You said these units are approximately 12,000. Is that right? Each?
Mm-hmm. About 12,500 each, but they can range between 10,000 to 20, really depending on, if you get the Camry or the Mercedes.
Okay. Any questions of the committee before we hear from the audience? Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor of House Bill 2453? Please come forward and state your agency. Okay. Anyone in opposition? I see we've got some in the queue. I'll just take room comments first. Anyone in opposition in the room? Okay. In the queue, we have Ms. Golden. Chris Golden, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Chris Golden. I'm pleased to be with you today. It's not possible for me to explain in the allotted time of 2 minutes the many reasons why I support HB 2453. I could speak to you at length about the benefits of spending time in nature. I could talk about the importance of inclusion and access and equity, but instead I'm just going to share a brief story. On June 1st of 1997, I completed the Blackwater Eagleman Triathlon. This was a half Ironman distance endurance race. It consisted of a 1.2-mile open water swim, a 56-mile bike ride, and a 13.1-mile run. That's 70.3 miles I covered under my own power. 11 months later, I was hit by a car while riding my bicycle and sustained a spinal cord injury. I've been paralyzed and I've used a manual wheelchair for the past 25 years. That accident that took my ability to walk did not diminish my love of the outdoors or my need for adventure. In its section on accessibility, the Mason Neck State Park website lists the Marshview Tech Trail as a 0.25-mile long trail with a stone-packed surface that ends at an elevated platform overlooking the upper marshes of Canes Creek. I was eager to enjoy the view from that platform when I set out on Marshview Trail a few months ago. Unfortunately, exposed tree roots, holes, rocks, and other obstacles made it impossible for me to push my wheelchair to the end of the trail. So that's 1/4 mile I was not able to cover under my own power. I have no clue what the view of the upper marshes of Canes Creek look like, but an all-terrain power wheelchair would allow park visitors with impaired mobility to cover greater distances with less difficulty and to enjoy more of the numerous benefits that Virginia State Parks have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Golden. Next will be Matthew Shapiro.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I am here representing myself as an individual with a disability, and I would strongly love to see all-terrain vehicles at our state parks so that I and others with disabilities could enjoy the many wonders that our state parks have to offer, and so I individually strongly support the bill.
Thank you. Ms. Clausen? Are you on mute, maybe?
Oh, you got yourself back on. Okay, I am on
There we
mute.
go.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'm Hillary Clausen, President of the Friends of Mason Neck State Park, and we fully support House Bill 2453. The Friends of Mason Neck State Park is a nonprofit incorporated 10 years ago To support the park's mission of conservation, education, and recreation, we provide both financial and volunteer support. It's likely that many of you have visited Virginia state parks, perhaps enjoyed hiking, camping, paddling, or other activities. Unfortunately, the simple joy of a walk in the park is not available to many of Virginia's disabled citizens and visitors. Mason Neck State Park, for example, has no accessible trails for an individual in a wheelchair. The paved trails that we do have are cracked and uneven, while other trails are made of unsuitable surfaces. The only option for someone in a wheelchair to see much of the park is by rolling down a paved road, hoping that they remain visible to the motor vehicles that pass by. In fact, that's how I met wheelchair user Chris Goulden, who's become an advisor to our board on accessibility issues. For her, enjoying a view of Belmont Bay's surrounding waters from the shoreline is impossible, not just due to lack of access via accessible trail. Keep in mind that from any vantage point, eye level for a wheelchair user is equivalent to your current eye level, and I can see that you're all sitting down. A major focus for our group, which is fully supported by the park manager, is improving accessibility in the park. Everyone deserves a great day in the park. Let's make that a reality by introducing all-terrain power wheelchairs to provide the disabled with access to all that our parks have to offer. No one should be left behind. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Clausen. Ms. Shatine?
It's okay. It's a tough one. It's Jenny
I'm sorry.
Shatine.
No, please
don't apologize. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Jenny Shatine. I'm with the Disability Law Center for Virginia. We are Virginia's protection advocacy agency for individuals with disabilities, and we support the bill. We thank Delegate Tran for bringing this bill to his attention. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Shatine. All right. Just as a comment myself, I know there's a lot more than 10 state parks, so I'm not sure. I'm sure DCR has a way that they may think about distributing these throughout the state. Director Wells, would you like to say something about that maybe?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Matt Wells, the Director of DCR. We don't have a position on the bill. We can certainly implement this if the bill's passed, provided the funding is there. Based on our estimates, we think we could stand this up at 2 parks initially with the money that's in the budget, which I think would be appropriate for a pilot level, and what we could probably accommodate with our existing staff. So if it's the will of the committee to move it forward and the will of the budget folks to put it in the budget, we can certainly do it.
Delegate Marshall?
Yes. Which 2 parks do you think would be the pilot?
We haven't picked that yet. I certainly think that the delegate would probably like to see Mason Neck be in the pilot. And we've got some parks are more suitable for this sort of adaptive use than others, so we probably sit down and think through that.
Also, another observation I have, I mean, we all want to see everyone be able to enjoy our most beautiful state parks. And this is probably a cheaper route than perhaps paving or improving the paths themselves for the users who, are immobile otherwise. So just an observation. But, anyone else on the committee have a question?
Have a motion.
Have a motion?
Yes. Report and refer House Bill 2453.
A motion to report and refer, and a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, please vote on your boards.
Delegate Tran, I can get you.
I think I know how Delegate Tran is going to vote. So the motion to report will be on a vote of 6-0. And it is reported. Thank you so much. And that completes our docket for today. Delegate Marshall, have a question?
Yes. Are we going to have a meeting next week?
I don't know.
Well, we have one by for today.
That's right. We do have one by for the day.
A couple more bills assigned. It's possible.
So most likely we will definitely have another meeting, a short meeting prior to the full meeting next week. All right. With that, we're adjourned.